Welcome to Should I Read It? Should I Read It is a weekly podcast that takes a deep dive into books. I'll provide a summary of the book and tell you how the ideas in the book relate across all the books we've covered so far. Today we're going to walk with Stephen Pressfield as we look at why nobody wants to read the crap you write. Now, this will be a quick disclaimer. If you got kids in the car, we are going to use a swear word once or twice in here because the title of the book is, pause it now, Nobody Wants to Read Your Shit. Have you ever wondered why no one reads what you write? You write and write, and nothing happens. Your dreams of readers flocking to you never materializes, and you wonder why nobody wants to read your shit. Well, Stephen Pressfield wrote an aptly titled book called Nobody Wants to Read Your Shit to try and help everyone write stories that are worth reading. Much like all of Pressfield's nonfiction books that I've read, there's a very, very loose structure to this book, but it mostly feels like a collection of essays that was later put inside a structure that seemed to fit, which in fact is what happened because he wrote them and his editor put them together. Pressfield starts off with some of his early writing and artist experience that led to one of the most important lessons on his first day writing at his first job, the lesson that gives us the title of the book. And he says it like this: "But of everything I learned, the most important lesson came at the beginning, on the very first day of my very first job. The lesson was, nobody wants to read your shit." From there, Pressfield breaks his book up into 8 sections. They loosely cover his life in different fields, from writing for adult films to advertising to screenplays, and then to 2 different attempts at fiction. In the beginning, we get to see Pressfield as he just started understanding what an artist was and that a writer was an artist. His view was from a friend's father who was walking around in his pajamas at 2 p.m., and Pressfield really didn't like that view. Flash forward a bit, and Pressfield is headed to his first job with palms sweaty and heart racing as he gets to finally get off on the creative floor. This is where he learns his first lesson, that people don't want to read your writing, especially in his job at the time, which was advertising. Here's how he says it: "People hate ads. I hate them myself. I hate TV commercials. Why should I waste my valuable time watching that lying garbage trying to sell me crap I don't need or want?" While this is discouraging, it's also a new paradigm to think about as you write. Are you delivering value? Is what you're writing worth the cost for the reader of their time? Here's another one from Pressfield. "When you understand that nobody wants to read your shit, your mind becomes powerfully concentrated. You begin to understand that reading, is above all a transaction. The reader donates his time and attention, which are supremely valuable commodities. In return, you, the writer, must give him something worthy of his gift to you." Now, I've struggled with this thought around my content on my site for a while, and this book and a few others I've read recently have made me change how I'm going to be doing content going forward. Doing much longer pieces, more value, publishing less often. Now, we're not going to follow Pressfield's structure for the book, as I really dislike how he structures these. We're going to look at some of the key lessons he's bringing us, though. This first one is a campaign. You need a campaign. In marketing, a campaign is the overall idea that pulls your material together. In many business circles, it's often referred to as your why or your purpose. Heck, I've written about it more than once, and I'm sure I'm going to write about this idea again. In marketing, that means you have personas, that you know who your customers are, that all of your writing, emails, and social posts are inside the same campaign talking about the same ideas. Here's my campaign, my big concept that frames me. You need to work hard to focus to get things done, but work is not everything. If you failed at being a husband and father but have lots of money, you still failed. One of the other good ideas is that good content sells something. We'll sum that up really quick with Pressfield's quote: "If you don't ask for the sale, how are you going to get it?" Pressfield spent some time in the adult film industry, and at least one of the people that he worked with had a rule about every sex scene that it needs to push the movie forward. At the end of the scene, the characters should have had some change happen to them. This goes for all of your content as well. When your reader gets to the end of your blog post, are they in a different position? Can they do more with their business? Do they better understand what it takes to win at work? Are they going to be better parents? Nobody wants to read your journal about you. That's all about you and inside your head. They want to read something that brings them value. You have to bring value if you want to earn the right to ask for sale. Here's a quote from Pressfield. "What nobody wants to read your shit means is that none of us wants to hear your self-centered, ego-driven, unrefined demands for attention. Why should we? It's boring. There's nothing in it for us. You also need to remember that no one cares about your products. Yeah, you're in love with them, but nobody else cares." Here's a quote from Pressfield again. "I've seen 1,000 clients be presented with brilliant campaigns for their products or services and have them ruin these campaigns by loading them up with their own lame bullshit. You need to look at your product as something that isn't lovable, something that you don't care about, and then try to sell it like that. Can you sell it like that? Does it bring enough value to your readers, to your customers, to be sold to someone that really couldn't care less about you and your work? Nice graphics, pretty words, not enough. Yeah, they catch the eye, but are you convincing your reader with each step that they can be in a better position if they get the product? Will your coaching program or your book help them get to their goals? Would you spend money on your own product? And if not, maybe that's why no one's buying your stuff. Next up, concepts bring meaning to your writing. When we looked at Badass Your Brand in episode 1, we talked about needing to stand out from the crowd. This is where the concept comes in. My concept is that you can't just hustle because that brings broken families. Broken families and relationships, still failure. Here's a quote from Pressfield. A concept sets the product in a context that makes the viewer behold the product with fresh eyes and perceive it in a positive, compelling light. Pressfield reminds us of the Avis slogan, which was, "We're number 2, so we try harder." That was a concept. Recently, Apple started calling their iPads not a computer, which means that they're carving their own category in minds that others have to try and market around. Here's another quote from Pressfield. A good concept makes the audience see your product from a very specific, sympathetic point of view, and by its logic, or faux logic, renders all other points of view and all competing products moot and impotent. The first question you need to ask yourself in your business marketing is, what's your concept? How are you going to stand out? What makes you worthy of attention? Next up, stealing ideas. Now, I get asked regularly how I write so much, how I have 3 podcasts, and how I still run a web development business around all of this. I do this in part because I steal and remix. I read and then I use the quotes and ideas in my books. I'm currently remixing Pressfield's book right now, building my own content out of it, and I don't feel ashamed about it at all. As you look for more work to do, steal what others are doing and put your spin on it. Make it fit into your campaign and fit your concept. Then it's your work. I know that sounds easy, but sitting around all day coming with ideas is far from easy. It's hard. It's emotionally draining and physically exhausting. Don't be surprised that a creative day leaves you feeling done. And when you're feeling done, take a break, because continuing on leads to bad ideas. You start draining the well dry and have crappy ideas. Here's how Pressfield puts it. When you try too hard, you have bad ideas. When you work mechanically, you have bad ideas. When you follow formula, you have bad ideas. When you're desperate or panicky, you have bad ideas. In Rest by Alex Pang, we see this idea supported as well. And Alex says, over the course of decades across professions in one industry after another, Sonnentang was a researcher, so Sonnentang's findings have been consistent. Workers who have the chance to get away mentally, switch off, and devote their energies elsewhere are more productive, have better attitudes, get along better with their colleagues, and are better able to deal with challenges at work. They're also better able to focus intensely on work tasks. It's your job to find solutions to problems. You better have the right problem to find, and that means you need to have a brain ready to generate ideas. That means you need one that's ready to work hard and not drained by going 100% all the time. Now, working hard. Pressfield did a lot of different things before he got his big breakout success with The Legend of Bagger Vance. He was 51, and he had 27 years of trade writing under his belt. He had worked himself to the bone. He had many novels that never sold, never got any traction at all. While that is probably not what you want to hear, it takes a lot of work to become a master in your field. It's not just guesswork and luck. You show up every day and do your craft. You work hard and focus on the things, and then something starts to happen. Ryan Holiday echoes this in Perennial Seller when he says, the more you do, the harder you work, the luckier you seem to get. If that means you work in a field that's not 100% lined up with your dream for a while, do it. If you want to write, just find any writing job to start. Then continually refine the jobs you take until you're doing what you want. It might take a decade. It might take more, but it's a decade of learning. Don't fall into the mistaken belief that pervades so many today. The idea that they are some special snowflake and that simply existing, they should get to do exactly what they wanted to all the time. If you believe that, you should roll back to episode 19 and listen to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, because he's going to totally disabuse you of that. It's not going to happen. You have to work hard to build that life you want. You will not just sit down and write an amazing book. You will not build a blog that can sustain itself overnight. Your development business will take time to get off the ground, and then it will take time to continue to maintain it so that it doesn't die due to neglect. Are you ready for that hard work? Here's a quote from Pressfield on hard work. A novel will take you 2 years to write, or 3, or 4, or 5. Can you do that? Can you sustain yourself financially? Emotionally? Can your spouse and children handle it? Can you maintain your motivation over that length of time? Your self-belief? Your sanity? If necessary, can you scrap your first 18 months of work and start over from scratch? Anything that is valuable is going to take time to build. A strong marriage is a decades-long pursuit with many setbacks. A great relationship with your kids is something you cultivate in every moment you interact with them. If it was easy to build things of value, everyone would be doing it all the time. Will you put the hard work in? Are you going to kick your idea down the road just a little bit every day? Because that's what it's going to take. This episode of Should I Read It is brought to you by the 8-Week Business Bootcamp. If you're tired of struggling with your business, tired of not getting the traction you want, tired of working overtime with little to show for it, then Bootcamp is for you. Join me to get your business back on track and still have time to see your family. You'll find a link for Bootcamp in the show notes. Now our final question is, should I read Nobody Wanted to Read Your Shit by Steven Pressfield? Initially, I left the rating of this book out because I didn't know how I wanted to rate it until I had a chance to write this review. My initial thoughts were similar to my other looks at Steven Pressfield's work. Almost non-existent structure and only an okay book. Now that I've dug back through the book, I actually view it in a much better light. While the ideas are scattered all around the book, there's a lot of good in here, and it's a fairly quick read. If you're looking for a short read to help you structure your writing better, then Nobody Wants to Read Your Shit is worth your time. Thanks for listening to Should I Read It? To support the show, you can leave me a review in iTunes or a heart or a star in whatever podcast player you use. These help more people find the show. If you want to get more reading done, you should get an Audible membership. If you use curtismchale.ca/recommends/audible, that will help the production of the show financially. In episode 21, we're going to look at negotiation. If you're battling issues at work or at home, then Play Nice in Your Sandbox will give you some tools to resolve the conflict better.